Hello everybody, Floppy Waffle 69 here, and welcome back to World of Warships, where today we are going to be doing a full deep dive analysis at the Tier 9 Minegumo, the IGN Tier 9, obviously, destroyer. So what is the Minegumo? What does she do well, and why would you ever consider playing this ship? Well, basically, the Minegumo is a Sashio class destroyer that has access to two different types of torpedo armaments, as you see on the bottom of my screen here on the 3 and 4 key. The first torpedo armament is going to be your longer range torpedoes, whereas the fourth or the second torpedo armament is going to be your shorter range, higher speed torpedoes, meant for definitely landing more of your torpedoes and getting to the target quicker at that shorter range. Sort of like your YOLO torpedoes, if that's what you want to call it. The Minegumo here obviously is the last and final ship of the four ships here featured in this Java Sea event, as she obviously did play a historical role with the Battle of the Java Sea. And you know, how is she in game, right? And that's my job. I'm going to come give you the no bullshit review here. And not cherry pick my games either, just as a normal average schmo game. Nothing too incredible, nothing out of the ordinary. This is basically what I would expect you to get in a torpedo destroyer, especially no different than an IGN torpedo destroyer in 2025. Just to go over some general, hard stats of the ship. So the base health pool of the Minegumo was clocking in at 15,100. Her max detect is her base detect is 6.63 kilometers. Air is about 3 kilometers as well. Max speed, you're getting around 35 knots, and you have a rudder shift of 3.6 seconds with a turning circle radius of 640 meters. Your main battery consists of 3x2 127 millimeter guns that reload in about every 6 seconds or so, that turn 180 degrees in 26 seconds. Standard destroyer, dispersion in Sigma. With a fire chance, or a chance of setting the target on fire, clocking in at 9%. Her torpedo armament, obviously, this is the bread and butter of the ship, clocking at 2x4 610 millimeter torpedoes. That her first launcher has a 15-kilometer range, clocking in just around 21,000, just under that 21,000 damage, and reloading about 100 seconds or so with a speed of only 57 knots. Detectability time on those torpedoes, the detectability of those torpedoes is 1.7 kilometers. With the reaction time, you're getting about 11.1 seconds when you see those. Her alternative torpedo armament has a range of 6.5 kilometers, clocking in around 21,300 damage. The speed has drastically increased up to 77 knots, detectability of 1.5 kilometers, and a reaction time of 7.3 seconds. AA is basically worthless. It's not even worth talking about. And her, she obviously has 3 consumables, or 3 slots, excuse me. Slot 1, damage control party. Slot 2, your smoke screen. And slot 3, your engine boost consumable. So yes, now that all those hard stats are the way, we're just going to look at the game here in the background and do a little bit of poor narrating, if I say so myself. The Minegumo is definitely the crown jewel of this event. It is the highest premium ship they have to offer. It is clocking in at Tier 9, and I believe roughly around 20,800 doubloons, or summing up to around 21,000 doubloons, roughly, for you. And what are you getting? Well, because the Asashio was removed from the game and only sold in either the Black Friday events or in the Santa crates, this is kind of, in my opinion, the substitution for that. And you're getting it up to Tier 9, so an Asashio class destroyer up at Tier 9. But it doesn't have access to those like super ultra deep water hard hitting torpedoes that the Asashio gets. They're going to have obviously the 2 torpedo armaments that I've talked about, and both will be on display here. And I'll do a little bit of talking about those torpedo armaments, because obviously we can get out the general rule of thumb here, which is you're extremely stealthy, which is 5.4 kilometers, full stealth build, and you want to utilize that to your advantage, right? That's going to allow you to get in closer to the target, so you can utilize those alternative torpedoes too, if you so choose. And also, let's not forget, with being that stealthy, you're an excellent scout. You could definitely contest caps. Obviously not in a straight up gunfight, but by spotting, which is crucial. utilizing the minimap, Destroyer 101 gameplay, guys. It's nothing too complicated. I don't need to sit here and tell you all how to play a Destroyer. You all should know that by now. But with this ship in particular, yeah, this is not an anti-DDDD. This is going to be launching torpedoes and filling the water with both sets of torpedoes. But the ship does have guns. Like I said, it has 6 of them. Let's not be afraid to utilize those guns, right, guys? I know a lot of Shimakaze type players and shore players forget to utilize their guns, which this is no exception. They have potent HE that can absolutely cripple if they make contact with the enemy ship. And you're coming in at 2150 on your max alpha damage with your HE, though that's potent. Don't forget to use those guys. Not in a straight up gunfight, but if we're retreating, get a couple shots here and there, sitting in smoke, those sort of stuff, assisting in allied destroyers, engaging other destroyers. These guns can definitely do the trick. They're just not going to win a one-on-one contest usually. Both sets of torpedoes. So let's talk about the torpedoes. The bread and butter torpedoes you're probably going to be using the most of is your number 3. So your first set, your standard torpedoes. These are the 15-kilometer ones that are going around 57 knots. These torpedoes, in my opinion, are the definition of zoning torpedoes. I've talked about this previously, like in the Yudachi guide, with your zoning torpedoes, or how I like to play with that. Same, no different than the Yoshino or the 20-kilometer Shimakaze torpedoes. These torpedoes you throw in an area. Don't really consist and utilize these to use the white indicator. You're going to put them in an area that you think ships will sail into. And the reason for that is they're not that stealthy, in my opinion. Especially with the prevalence of submarines, other destroyers, and hydroacoustic search being everywhere. You're really not going to land your main torpedo armament as much as you would like in this thing. And it's going to show. The speed is very anemic, but you saw in my captain build, I don't take the speed upgrade on this thing, which would bring us around 62, 63 knots. Now, why is that? Well, this ship, in my opinion, needs to know where enemy destroyers are so they don't conflict with you at getting your way and spotting you. That's why I take RPF, to kind of know where they are at. And that's why I believe it's the superior skill. If you disagree, if you don't think the ship needs that radio location, that information, by all means take the speed upgrade, then compound it with the flood for their, and then whatever else you want to do for that extra 4 points you have from not taking RPF. It's by all means do what you need to do. I personally recommend RPF is the way to go. I did this with like basically one way I would recommend with this too is like the La Pampa. That ship is just mandatory with its low speed for its tier to kind of know where the enemy ships are at, right? So to talk about the first set of torpedoes, like I said, these are going to be zoning torpedoes. These are not going to win any prizes. These aren't going to win any awards. You have them strictly so that you have that long range, throwing them in the water, and hopefully they hit something. That is what they're here for. I don't really land a whole lot of these torpedoes when engaging a single target. Now, on the contrary, your alternative torpedoes. Now, these are the torpedoes that have access to the 6.5-kilometer range and that are 77 knots, a reaction time of about 7.3 seconds with a detectability of 1.5. These are awesome torpedoes, and I believe this is what it truly kind of makes the Minegumo and how you want to play her. I find her to be a little bit more of an aggressive style of destroyer, though you have the option to play more passive if that's what you so choose. But I think the best thing, if you're playing the ship, you want to get the most out of her, I believe using the 6.5-kilometer torpedoes is the way to go. You have such a low detection anyways, with clucking at 5.4 kilometers detection. I think you should utilize that. I believe fully that you should utilize this to the fullest to surprise the enemy ships to have 0 to no reaction time at all, especially your large surface ships such as your battleships. But you do have to kind of factor in that any slight maneuvering outward or turning out, if you're right at the cusp of 6.5 kilometers, you're probably not going to land your torpedoes, as you're going to see here with the tier 9 Italian battleship here, the Lepanto. I'm not going to land any of these torps because he's in my range. He's going to be sailing in there, but he makes slight maneuvers to turn out, which causes me to miss my entire torpedo salvo. But with this being said, the high damage alpha on these, or high alpha damage, excuse me, of these torpedoes is too great. With the speed of 72 knots, you're going to be more reliably hitting the target they're going for when utilizing these alternative torpedoes. So I highly recommend utilizing your concealment, coupled with the speed boost, and knowing the minimap with the RPF skill to land those 6.5 kilometer torpedoes, because this is what makes the Minegumo, and it's fun, right? Um, but obviously you're going to have to play around the prevalence of hydro, as you see here, and you're going to have to play around radar as well, and other DDs. So those are the three things you really have to be careful of. And I guess submarines too, and aircraft carriers is a whole other can of worms you want to get into. It's basically just be aware, know who's in the game, who you're fighting against, know your opponents, and this ship can definitely and will work for you. But then again, it is more painful, as you find in 2025, playing a torpedo-focused destroyer, just because of the prevalence of all those things that I have already previously listed. So you could see that my captain on this ship, I do not actually have RPF. That is because I have a low-level commander. I put in the beginning of the video what I would be taking if I do have it. And once I have a 21-point commander, that is what I would have on this ship. But yeah, like I told you, I don't just flip-flop commanders. But if you want to, I believe the Asashio would be a great commander to transfer over, or the Shimakaze. Any of your standard IGN captains are going to make a great transfer over to this ship, and you can bounce them back and forth if you so choose to do. So, but here's the prime example on that Sebastopol, basically utilizing the 6.5 kilometer torpedoes with the speed. And the damage, I was able to get him out of the game. And obviously I'm licking my chops here on the Uchikov, knowing my range, knowing that my torpedoes will be up here in a sub 30 seconds. I cannot wait. I'm recognizing on the mini map that there are two destroyers, I believe, out there on the left side of the map. I understand that could be a possibility. They could pop up out of nowhere and surprise me. So my guns are trained and ready to go as well. Again, utilizing mini map to know and plan ahead accordingly. Destroyer 101 gameplay, guys. Destroyer 101 gameplay. But yes, if you want to find the most success in the Minegumo, I believe a more aggressive destroyer play in utilizing those alternative torpedoes is the way to go. Even though, like I previously stated, you can play the ship more passive if you so choose. I just don't think you're going to be getting as many damage games or high damage games that you want to do, or making that much of a battle impact in games. It all depends on who the opponents have, the opposing team have on the lineup, and playing around that is which is going to make the biggest difference for you guys, make a biggest difference in regards of your gameplay, overall gameplay. So all in all, my final take on this ship, it is great. This is a great ship. It's fun. I don't play enough of her, even though she is a relatively strong torpedo boat for her tier. But the doubloon price that Wargaming is asking is just too ridiculous, guys. I really wouldn't waste your time picking up this ship for the balloons unless you're lucky enough to get her in a crate. So anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Many more to come, guys. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.